What is up, everybody? This is King Kong Knights 100, and today we will be diving into the Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire title reveal teaser. Who is that new kaiju? What is he doing on that throne? How is he even going to fight Kong and Godzilla? All those questions that are being asked will be answered right now with potential theories and what I personally would love to see in this new installment. Keep in mind this isn't 100% fact, because all we got was a 35-second teaser, and there will be many people complaining about how this kaiju doesn't look threatening, or people want a Toho Godzilla monster again. Let's all just wait and see what they can come up with for this new monster, because if they handle it right, this new kaiju has a chance of becoming an incredibly deadly force in the monsterverse. So, let's talk about Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. So this teaser starts off with a shot of this Kong-looking kaiju sitting comfortably on a throne. It opens its eyes, revealing a glowing blue hue, as we then dolly backwards, revealing a massive boneyard surrounding this throne. Peeling back just a bit further, we see two skulls. These skulls belong to the members of the Godzilla and Kong species, each with their unique glows. What follows is a title reveal that reads Godzilla X Kong The New Empire, with a purple and blue color pattern, and then we get a shot focusing on this Kong's eyes. He gazes into the camera, his eyes glowing blue, and we then cut to black. So this is an amazing teaser in my opinion. I just love how dark and foreboding it is with this new monster, and I also think the title is really cool. I mean, personally I think it should have been called Godzilla and Kong The New Empire, since it kind of rolls off the tongue better, but it's growing on me. And I think many casual moviegoers are going to call it Godzilla and Kong since that's easiest, but this is good. I also love the purple and blue hue because it's just so visually appealing, and it's a color palette I think really fits the vibe of this teaser since there's so much contrast with the red and the blues. But alright, let's get into the real nitty gritty. Who the hell is that monster sitting on the throne? Here's what we know. This is not the King Kong we all know and love. At first glance it looked like a malnourished Kong to me. I just kind of saw this on my phone when I was in class, but I began to realize this isn't our Kong. It has a completely different physiology. I mean, the proportions are all off from our Kong, what with the longer arms and the shortened neck and the longer legs, skinnier torso. It's not our Kong. The hair, it seems to be more of this reddish color rather than dark brown that our Kong has. And if you actually brighten up the image and you focus on the top of this Kong's head in the ECU, you can see this Kong also has a lot more of a forehead showing, which our Kong does not. You can see more of the skin on his head with less hair, which almost makes this Kong out to look as if he were beginning to bald or something. So in addition to all of that, there's different scar patterns on this Kong that isn't prevalent on our current Kong. This could be noticed with the nose, especially since our Kong has certain scarring on his right nostril, and this one has a different type of scarring. So where there would be scarring on this Kong's nose, it does not exist on our current Kong's nose, and vice versa. And icing on the cake is that KDM confirmed this is not Kong and is a different monster entirely. So it's a different height and species compared to our Kong and is most likely much, much larger. It would be really cool if this Kong had the same kind of design as the 1962 Kong, because that one also had the similar balding in the forehead, as well as the longer arms and the shrunken in shortened neck thing. So I think that'd be really cool. Another thing we know is that this Kong is most likely a corrupt Kong who is a villain. Again, this was confirmed by KDM, but it's also able to be inferred visually. This new Kong looks at these skulls of Kong and Goji with sheer hatred, which could symbolize the partnership between Kong and Godzilla. Considering the Titan War in which Kongs and Godzillas both killed each other, this Kong may potentially hold resentment and hatred for any member of the Godzilla species for killing his kind. Maybe also hate this particular Godzilla, who we know participated within the Titan War. So the way he seems to look at the skulls with hatred could solidify this. This Kong is sitting in the destroyed throne room, which could lead into the idea that he was either gone from the throne room during GVK, somewhere else in the Hollow Earth, or my personal favorite theory is that this Kong was trapped underneath the throne room by other Kongs due to his immense power and evil. So him sitting in the throne so comfortably almost seems like him reclaiming his throne. We also know that this Kong is experienced. He has warpaint on his face, so it is possible that this Kong is incredibly experienced. If he's intelligent enough to put on warpaint, he clearly has been in many battles in the past if he's going out of his way to wear either warpaint or possibly Titan blood. And assuming this is the case, it's most likely possible he participated in the ancient Titan War between Kongs and Godzillas, which resulted in slaughters on both sides. He may also know how to use all the weapons in the throne room, plus have the ability to craft new weapons on the fly, like traps and hunter weapons that could take down Kong and Goji with ease. We've seen our Kong develop weapons on the fly, and since this Kong has demonstrated his intelligence by wearing warpaint and possibly participating in the Ancient Titan War, then this Kong was probably a kaiju hunter. This Kong most noticeably has glowing blue eyes, much like Godzilla, and this could mean he is most likely utilizing the power in the Hollow Earth to either feed off of it and potentially use it for a new power, such as Kong's old electrical powers, or some kind of EMP attack through clapping his hands extremely hard, or something new involving having incredible amounts of strength and durability. I mean, we know KDM outright confirms that this Kong definitely has powers. So that's all we know about the teaser so far. Again, there isn't a whole lot to unpack here because it's only like 35 seconds, but it's a damn good teaser. Now, let's get into my own theories as to what exactly is going on here. My theory in regards to this entire monster is that, for starters, from like the earliest to latest point in the timeline, number 1, this Kong participated in the Ancient Titan War. Now, I believe that in the Ancient Titan War, this Kong had not only participated in the war, but it also helped defeat the corrupt Godzilla known as Zozlahalawa. I know that sounded fucking awful, but basically that winged Godzilla we saw in cave paintings in the external media of GVK and in the novel. So somehow I think this Kong ended up absorbing a lot of the power of the Hollow Earth energy, which is the same one that gives the Godzillas their power. This Kong, however, could still hold a grudge against any member of the Godzilla species because of how they killed his kind in the war preceding the truce to fight off the winged Godzilla. So because of this hatred and rage, he goes about killing not only Godzillas, but also other Kongs who have agreed to not fight the Godzillas after their truce. I think this Kong was trapped in the Hollow Earth by other Kongs and or Godzillas due to his power and anger. So I like the idea that this Kong was so powerful, he had to have been sealed underneath the throne room in order to ensure it could not break out and continue his rampant destruction, and so he could, cool down from his powers and become weaker. So I think it would be a great idea if not only Kongs helped with this, but Godzillas as well. This would be reminiscent of Kairos from Kong the Animated Series, who was so powerful. All the primal stones were used to seal him away for good. A cool idea to me would be if this Kong had remained in the Hollow Earth underneath the throne room until Godzilla had destroyed it recklessly in GVK. Now, come the events of GVK, Godzilla he is reckless. He recklessly destroys the throne room due to giving into his anger and blasting the Hollow Earth just to taunt Kong. Not only is he opening a passageway into the Hollow Earth, allowing for those threats to come to the surface, but he's also just giving into his rage and being reckless with his power. This is not what a wise alpha would do because he ends up endangering the surface world, and he ends up endangering the Hollow Earth world because of how advanced humans have become. So naturally this calls for consequences and punishment. Enter this new Emperor Kong. Our Kong is not innocent either. The fact that he ended up giving into his own anger and left the Hollow Earth unguarded means he also acted petty, resulting in potential dangers of the Hollow Earth either rising onto the surface world or vice versa. Now, if the events of GVK caused this Kong to rise out of his prison, our Kong may have been there to stop it while he was still weak, but since our Kong wasn't there, this Kong ends up absorbing the power of the Hollow Earth in a special way only an experienced Kong could. So he ends up rebuilding the throne, and he gazes upon the littered Titan bones that were once victims of his. So I do have another branch I want to extend in regards to this point in time, but I'm going to talk about that later in the video. So this Kong could see he is one of the only Kongs left next to our Kong, which could further drive his anger and sheer rage. When he sees our Kong has a truce with Godzilla, much like their ancestors, he would then see Kong as an enemy and a traitor to the Kong species. Now, it's also possible this Kong could climb up to the surface world and just be disgusted by what he's seeing with humanity. If humanity was shown with another mech, for example, or if they attacked him, I don't think he'd bat an eye at wiping out humanity as well as Godzilla and Kong. One big point of this film could be Kong being faced with a moral dilemma. Upon first encounter, I can see this Kong being ecstatic to find another member of his species alive. Not only is he filled with feelings of joy, but also immediate love. But after it's revealed that this Kong has a truce with Godzilla, possibly if there's a surface threat Goji needs help with, he calls Kong and Kong answers back. This is what would drive a wedge between our Kong and this Emperor Kong. So our Kong would have to choose between his allyship with Godzilla, or finally finding happiness with another member of his family, even if he's a subspecies and not actually another Kong. And I really want the message of this film to be It doesn't matter if you're related by blood or by, I guess, being within the same species. What really would matter is finding family with who you've grown close to. I would really like to see Kong realize that Gia is his family, and I guess Nathan and Eileen, if they're in this movie. I don't think they are. And this was actually a message I really wanted to convey in my rewrite of Godzilla vs. Kong, which I highly recommend if you haven't checked it out. I can also see this Kong about to kill Godzilla when, in an incredibly emotional scene, our Kong would have to be forced to kill his own kind. This Kong could be too far gone, not only hell-bent on killing Godzilla and Kong, plus potentially humanity, but he's also just corrupt by the amount of power that he has. Kong would end up having to make the tough decision to kill this new Kong, which would solidify the brotherhood between Goji and Kong, if we can make sure we show that Godzilla is so understanding of what just happened and how big of a deal this is for our Kong. So those are all the theories I have on this monster so far and what he's doing in the throne room. Now I want to elaborate on some of those theories further and extend a couple olive branches here and there, and also just talk about what I'm personally excited for. So I feel like one possibility is that this Kong could also be working for another, much larger threat. Ideally, I would love to see Camazotz return and see a 2v2 with this new Kong and a stronger / larger Camazotz versus Kong and Goji. But since that doesn't seem likely, I feel like it would be cool to see this new Kong act as Ominous did in Kong the Animated Series. And if you haven't seen it, Ominous was a warrior hunter who worked for a demonic god known as Kairos, and they both hated Kong. Now I can see this new Emperor Kong working for a titan like the winged Godzilla who may want to feed off Goji for strength, or for an entirely new threat. So this would cause a 2v2 situation where Kong and Godzilla need to fight this new Kong and this new threat. I think in this new film, this Predator Kong, Emperor Kong thing would battle for the title of Emperor. If everything I theorize is true, then it would make sense that this Kong would be hell-bent on reclaiming his title as Emperor of the Hollow Earth. It's like old mentality versus new mentality, where this old mentality Kong wants to reign supreme and, keep to the old ways, while our Kong just wants peaceful coexistence after ending the Titan War. In a fight between Kong and this Emperor Kong, it would be cool to see like a moment where Kong uses his axe against this new Kong, who just catch it and disarm Kong, showing he's way more experienced. He could use it in like a variety of different ways and use it to maybe amplify his power that he has to actually beat Kong. When Kong defeats this new Emperor eventually, him taking the axe back could be symbolic that he earned his title as King of the Hollow Earth. The warpaint on this Emperor Kong's face matches the painting of the handprints on the door, which could also be more evidence that this throne room and axe belong to this orangutan Emperor Kong, who is in fact the true king. Now because of how much larger this new Kong is and how experienced he seems to be, I could see this Kong being the reason many Skullcrawlers retreated to the surface world on Skull Island. So I imagine an awesome scene where this Emperor Kong uses his axe and he points it at Kong and Goji, causing waves of Skullcrawlers and Warbats and other Hollow Earth kaiju to come rushing at Godzilla and Kong, who have to fight their way out. So this Kong being the reason other titans are becoming aggressive would give Godzilla enough reason to feel the need to put him down. This Kong also being the reason Skullcrawlers rose to the surface world gives Kong the motivation he needs, because he would be the reason Kong's parents are dead since they were ambushed by armies of Skullcrawlers. But Kong wanting to redeem this new kaiju and forgive him takes us back to his moral dilemma of either putting this new kaiju down or trying to get him to see the way of forgiveness so they can all work together and maybe even become a family. Now this Kong, he looks a bit skinny, so it would be nice to see him manhandle Godzilla and Kong so we could see just how powerful he really is. And the Hollow Earth energy, I think that could be used to just like amplify his strength and durability. And due to his slim structure, he could most likely move around and be more nimble, and he also has the reach advantage, so there's that. And I think this Kong definitely needs to defeat Kong and Goji one-on-one, and then eventually as a 2-on-1, so we can see that he really is a force to be reckoned with. Now there's a huge chance that this throne room is actually a different one entirely, and that this is simply a rival Kong who lives in a different area within the Hollow Earth. So this was pointed out by D-Man, but maybe like the more volcanic biome is where this Kong would live, but we can tell because this throne room is different, including like the way the pillars are arranged and the seat itself. There are just so many more bones surrounding this throne room, which were not present in the GVK throne room. So this Kong could either have an entirely different lair, or he can be in the same lair. My original theory was that he was in Kong's like throne room, but we can kind of merge these two ideas. So I think a cool amalgamation of these ideas would be this Kong is trapped underneath the throne room in GVK, and after it's destroyed, he rises from the prison. He's so malnourished and, he's going years on years without power. So after rising out of his prison, he absorbs the energy and gets stronger. He then makes his way to his own throne room, and that's where we see what a bad dude he is when he sits comfortably on his throne, which has titan bones surrounding it. So naturally, we as audiences, we assume like, oh, the gorilla is going to be a good guy because we closely relate to them. But this would be a huge subversion of expectations and just flip that trope on its head, all without a single line of dialogue. So I think that would be a cool idea. I hope I was clear on that, but yeah, it does seem like the throne rooms are different though. And unless more time has passed and Kong rebuilt the throne room himself, and tons of more kaiju bones just ended up littering around his lair, it doesn't feel like these are the same throne rooms. It's kind of like how in Superman and Lois, Superman and his brother Tal-Rho have different fortresses of solitude, and they're both in different biomes. So I could see this evil Kong living in the more volcanic biomes of the Hollow Earth. In terms of this Kong and his powers, I mentioned this earlier, but I think it would be great seeing a Kong with lightning powers again. I think the lightning idea would be cool since they could explain his fur acts as some kind of conductor of electricity, and he could probably just feed off of it or harness it to gain strength and durability from it. D-Man had a great idea about this Kong having a sort of EMP ability, and I think that would totally fit this universe and this particular creature. I think it could be awesome if we saw this Kong's eyes just glow more and more, and we hear like a sound similar to the atomic breath charge up, and it's just getting louder and louder, and the Emperor just like fully extends his arms outwards. He's puffing out his chest, and then he claps his hands together, causing a massive shockwave that can cancel out atomic abilities, and it just dazes opponents like it were a sonic screech. Just something like that, or being able to punch the ground so hard he can distribute his power across a certain distance like the male Muto. I think that would be fantastic. Now, there are a lot more theories that D-Man presented, and I highly recommend you check his videos out on this guy because, again, they're just so much more detailed and eloquently put in regards to the theories surrounding this titan. Now, it's also important to remember that KDM, who, if you don't know, is an industry insider, he said to listen to the first few seconds and ignore the drums of the teaser. I'm not sure what this is referring to, but if you just listen, ignore the drums, it kind of sounds like a Muto roar to me, or like a Warbat roar or something. So, I don't know, maybe we'll see like Muto's return and being controlled by this Kong. I think this Emperor Kong having the ability to call other titans to battle would be super interesting, and it would definitely raise the stakes. But yeah, let me know what you guys hear in the first 2 seconds, ignoring the drums, because all I hear are either Mutos or Warbats. Here in this last bit, I just want to rapid fire some other thoughts I have on this teaser. I really love that we got a teaser with a new kaiju. I hope to God there is like a decent chunk of the film, like 2/3 of the film, that's just pure monster action, monster visuals, monster storytelling. I really want this film to have good writing for our human characters and our kaiju characters. I want excellent VFX considering it's 2023. I want to see monster fights that aren't watered down. Just give us brutal fight scenes with good creative fight choreography. That's like the bare minimum for these films. That's all I'm asking for. I want more time with Godzilla as a character as well as Kong. I want scenes with them where like the humans aren't present. Touch on Kong's relationship with the humans later, and at this point in the story, just like, I don't know, I really want to see where Kong stands with humans at this point in time. I really hope Adam Wingard and crew are learning from their mistakes, as GVK did have much better kaiju action, but it still seemed watered down due to like the fight choreography, round 2 was mainly just Kong running from the beam. So this film needs to have a ton more kaiju action. It was a huge step in the right direction, but it's still kind of watered down. I want this to be brutal. I want to get actually entertaining fights and nothing that's just kind of stale, I also really want to see the original King of the Monsters and Dominion Kaiju return for this film. Whether they fight this new Kong and get defeated, not killed, or maybe return in the final battle to all help aid in defeating this threat, it would be really nice to have them back, especially like Behemoth and Methuselah, and I really want to see Amulek make his debut as well. I don't like that they began advertising this film so soon, because much like GVK, it should have been just 2 months before the film's release date. That way, it's fresh in the audience's mind, and not like the other films where they're most likely forgotten. One of the last things I want to discuss is there is fan outrage that we are not getting Toho monsters or kaiju that look menacing. Why is this skinny ape menacing? How could he damage Godzilla or Kong? I think these are just like overreactions for a simple 35-second teaser trailer. There are ways to make this Kong look like a threat. If he's like 450 plus feet tall in height and is just insanely powerful with the feats to back it up, that would work. If he's an experienced hunter, then that also makes it more believable. But there's also the chance that he could be like this warrior hunter who works for another larger and more badass kaiju. But KDM has been stressing to everyone that we don't even know what the powers this guy has are. We aren't even aware of how powerful this dude is or how large he is. Now, everyone who's just getting mad it's an ape titan is being a bit childish here. Like, yeah, it's not as badass as a monster like Biollante or Destroya, but if it's big and bad enough, it can work as a villain. Simple as that. I personally would love to see, like, new monsters now that we got the big five. We can take a break from Toho monsters for a while, since, the Monsterverse has been killing it with their new kaiju lately. I mean, Amula, Camazotz, Behemoth, Methuselah, Scylla, these are all fantastic kaiju that we still should see in more films. They know what they're doing in regard to that, so I do have faith in them in the monster department. Whatever it is they do, I just hope they execute it well and we can finally see Kong and Godzilla at full power being defeated by this threat who is also at full power. Because every fight that we've gotten has either had Godzilla not at full power, or the opponent not at full power, or either kaiju overpowered. It's just like there's always something that's just out of balance. And same with Kong and GVK, where apparently he wasn't at full power, or he was like overweight and he was nerfed by like living in the dome, or just some kind of bullshit. It feels so contrived and forced, and I really wish like we could just get full power kaiju fights, because I mean it would make like debating like 10 times more fun, and yeah, I think it'd make a fight more entertaining. On another note, I hate how every enemy has been just an ancient rivalry, like ancient rivalry this, ancient rivalry that. For fuck's sake, give us something new. I'm sick of hanging back in time, always having to go back to origins and ancient rivalries and prehistoric ancient times and all this shit. I really just want to like see the Monsterverse push forward with the narrative. I'm also getting sick of the time skips. I don't want there to be a huge time skip, because that just makes it out to be like, oh, like all this time was missing. Now that like more time has passed, we're gonna just change the characters into like however we want. Like, we just got Kong in the Hollow Earth. We just got Godzilla like finally being able to rest. I don't want them to end up like going forward in time and being like, oh, now Kong is old, now Kong is brittle, Godzilla's getting old. Like, I don't really care. I want it to take place within like a year. These films should take place like within a year or two from each other, not like 10-20 years or some shit. But yeah, I mean that was just like a little minor rant. I think like Kong, I don't want to see him act as an old man. I know that's what they wanted to do for him in like Kingdom Kong, and I get like the island probably like slowing his growth, or like the dome slowing his growth, as dumb as it sounds. Like, it kind of makes sense. But now that he's in the Hollow Earth, he should kind of be in his prime and like be more than just like the old brittle Kong who's tired and like he's like tired of his daily routine. I just really want to see Kong and Godzilla both at their prime at full power, fighting another threat who is also at full power and isn't either being nerfed or overpowered. I've seen people theorizing that either Kong or Godzilla are going to die, and they're going to end up giving way for another alpha, like a younger Kong or a younger Godzilla. But what new ground are you going to be covering there? I don't think it would really drive the narrative forward just yet. I mean, I do think that would be a good step in the right direction, but not for like 4 or 5 phases or some shit. I would really hold off on that until we get a bit more than just phase 1 of the Monsterverse. But yeah, so that should be saved for a future movie, but right now I think it's best to just keep pushing the narrative and storylines forward. Okay, minor rants over. That's about it for this video. I want to thank you guys so much for this like massive influx of subscribers lately. I know I haven't been posting a lot, but I have a lot of 3D animations in the works. I've just been super busy with school, but as I said in my most recent community post, I'm planning on posting more often, hopefully with bi-weekly uploads. But since finals is starting soon, I may not begin with that until next month. But I do have like multiple big 3D animations in the works, which should be releasing within the next month or 2 on the channel. I've been gaining back motivation for more discussion videos and other discussion series on the channel. So yeah, thank you all for your patience. I'm excited to share with you guys what's in store. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are down below, and what you expect to see and what you're excited to see. Yeah, this is King Kong X 100 signing out, and until next time, bye bye.